Hey, hi Jason, how you doing? Hi friends. Who am I? Bill Jackson. Myself and Danielle Jackson run Center for Tanakh-based studies. Begs the question, what is Center for Tanakh-based studies? Basically, it's a nonprofit organization that deals with the teaching of the Tanakh. And today, I am going to give or answer 10 questions that deal with my leaving Jesus. A challenge issued by Jason of Spiritual Babies. Jason, thanks for the opportunity. And these are my 10 answers. Question number one. When did I lose my faith in the New Testament? That was about May of 2014. Question number two. What was my faith before this journey? And when I took this journey, did I give up Jesus? Well, like many of us, I was a Christian. Always wanted a relationship with God. Wasn't from a religious family. Came into the service. And as time went on in the service, towards the end of my 30 years, I became more ensconced in my Christian religion. I wanted that relationship with God. It was important to me, and I thought that that's how I had to do it. The reality is that I realized that wasn't the right answer. And of course, when I started this journey, which was to give up the New Testament, obviously I got rid of Jesus because that was the cotter pin that kept me in the Christian religion and the New Testament. Question number three. What caused me to challenge the validity of the New Testament? Passover 2014. Right in the middle of it, my wife excuses herself and just walks right out. Afterwards, I asked what was wrong, and she dropped the bomb on me. She did not believe that Jesus was the Messiah. And yes, it was a pretty tense time for us both, but I asked for space and time to think about it. I realized she wouldn't have just jumped to this conclusion. She thinks things out. And I needed to spend some time in the Tanakh and to try to process it myself. After about 2 months, I actually seen where I should be at, and I was able to make the commitment then. But that was it. Passover 2014. My wife. Question number four. How did I feel when I questioned the validity of the New Testament? I felt anxiety. Just shame and just dread. It was just, I don't know. Think about it. We were taught if we deny him, he'll deny us. So it kind of keeps you in the game, doesn't it? So I felt a lot of tension. I really, really, truly did. Likewise, I felt like I was giving my back to close friends because I had people, still have friends that are deep in the Christian religion that are doing good things, but by not pursuing that relationship, I felt I was giving them my back, which I wasn't. Once I got to the other side of the anxiety, I had at least a holistic perspective of things. I could see things from the other side. I'll give you a good one. Um, Exodus 32 talks about it. It says basically Moses is trying to intercede for Israel. And God tells Moses, you can't intercede for them. They're accountable for their own actions. Whereas Christianity's concept was to hang your responsibility on a human deity. It's not right. But at the time, yeah, I felt shame. Question number five. What personal effect did leaving Jesus have on my relationship with friends and family? I had it pretty easy compared to a lot of people I hear about. I was not from a religious family. Um, my friends were predominantly other soldiers. Again, I was a career soldier at the time, so I did not get a lot of pushback from the people in my immediate world. Conversely, my wife, oh my word, um, it just amazes me the vindictiveness and spite she received from Christian women. My word, people that yesterday were just as pleasant as punch, and just you just seeing that bitter, angry side to them. I can't imagine it. She received a long letter from one of them. She received comments that I could not repeat here right now. It just amazes me that she went through that. I think it's awful. Um, her church leader, her pastor, pretty much shunned her. And I actually had a conversation with him too. I basically told myself I was going to give an opportunity to speak to for him to speak sense to me if he could, and I kept the context that would stay all within the Tanakh. Well, on the phone, he ranted and raved and went on about he infused things in there that weren't there. Imagine that. But like at one point, he just preached a sermon in my ear about Abraham saw the cross in the distance and blah 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 blah. You know what? We had to call friends, gentlemen. But the next day on Facebook, he pretty much publicly shunned me, and I just thought, wow, that's where his level of credibility is at with anything. Actually, on the upside of all this, if you get a chance on our website, we have Danielle the Heretic, and although it's a comedic portrayal of what I'm talking about, the basis of it is stuff that really did actually happen. So, anyhow, I was very fortunate, whereas my wife wasn't. Question number 6. Is my relationship with God different now than it was before? Yeah, big time different. If I only had one word to use right now to sum it all up, I would say mature. I think that my relationship's a lot more mature with God than it was before. If you give me a second word, I'm going to use intellectual. I mean, I think that my relationship's a lot more intellectual than it was before. I just felt with Christianity, when I can look at it now, presently I'm in an adult relationship with God. Prior, with the Christian religion, I was in an adolescent relationship. You really just don't know enough, and you just accept things. Some things you shouldn't accept, but that's where I was at that time. And if you think about it, a lot of people tell you the New Testament is a lens to look through to see the Old Testament, but why do you need a lens for something that you can see so clear? But something you can see so clearly, aren't you putting a filter over your eyes when it's not necessary? Just think about it, right? The Old Testament, Tanakh, talks about individual responsibility, individual accountability, talks about repenting. The New Testament talks about mercy, grace. The devil made me do it, right? Yeah, you'll find repenting in the New Testament, but it's predominantly amongst other men, whereas in the Tanakh, it's predominantly towards God. Huge difference. Yeah, my relationship is more direct and clear with God than it was before. Question number 7. What advice would I have for somebody who is challenging the validity of the New Testament? I think there's probably 2 crucial pieces of advice. Research and common sense. I mean, really, the research part is probably a lot easier than you think. There's a lot of people who have already written about this before. I have a website, Center for Tanakh-Based Studies. I know Jason does as well. Spiritual Babies. But also look at the credibility of the websites. I mean, there are a lot of scholars out there, Christian scholars, that actually are challenging the New Testament. Again, you'll find people on the other side, haters, and I don't care what you stand for. You can always find a hate group against it. I personally would steer away from that. Just look for credible sources out there to help steer you in the right direction. And you're the responsible person that needs to do the research. If it's just to take the Old Testament, the Tanakh, and the New Testament and then compare them. I know when my wife looked at the Beatitudes, it dawned on her. I mean, what right does the Christian deity have to adding to God's Torah? He doesn't. It says that he's not supposed to. Yeah, common sense, right? That has to prevail here as well. Believe it or not, if you're watching this right now, what took you to get to this point is probably going to be that motivating factor that will get you to the end of this point. And that's a good thing. Again, research and use common sense. Those are the 2 things. Question number 8. Were there people that helped me to get to this place in my journey? Yes, talked to you about this before. My wife Danielle. If it wasn't for her challenging something that needed to be challenged, I don't know if I'd be here right now, and I'm very thankful for that. I also want to say to any other spouse out there that finds herself in the same place Danielle was, you have to give your loved ones the room to make a decision. And I know it was tough for Danielle. You know, she gave the information to me, and she gave me space, and she gave me resources, and I looked at them. Some I did, but she gave me the room, and I really, really am thankful for that because when I came out of it, I realized that it was out of my own will, and that's how it has to be done. The other person would be you, Jason. My wife turned me on to you. I contacted you for the first time, and we only spoke for 15 minutes, but you did the right thing. I will admit, before I even Skyped with you, I was at a point in which I made a decision. If my answers are anywhere, it's only going to be in the Tanakh, and I refuse to use any other external sources. So when we spoke, you steered me towards Ezekiel 18. Yeah. And anybody who's lost or if they're on the fence, I strongly recommend that you do what Jason did for me, is to offer that up. Ezekiel 18. It's absolutely a good place for somebody who's trying to figure it out. But yeah, later on in my journey, I ran into other people that were pretty much in the place I was or further ahead. But predominantly, my wife got me to where I'm at here. And if anybody spurred me on beyond that point, it would have been Jason. And again, that was just a 15-minute meeting, and I'm thankful for our friendship now. Number 9, we have a two-part question here. Um, what's the best part of being where I'm at right now, and what's the most challenging? The best part is a direct relationship with God. We don't have an institution that we put between us and God. We read the Tanakh and we have fellowship with other people, and we challenge each other and spur each other on. But it isn't about me being right or them being right. At the end of the day, it's about us getting in Tanakh and God being right. That relationship inside of a church religion we did not receive before. There was a hierarchy, there was an institution. It's good. It's good to have that direct relationship with the Creator and to read His Word unfettered. Um, Obviously, looking for other people that share in that. There's not a lot of us, but that makes it really good too because we all fought to get to this place, and it's great to have this company. The challenge is pretty much the same thing. I don't want to go back to an institution, but an institution, there was some comfort to that. It was nice to have great praise and worship. It was great to have a community of people that believe the same way. But I never, ever, under any circumstances, could sacrifice what I have now to go back to something like that. I mean, you just can't. You can't unring that bell, you know. But yeah, that's a challenge, and hopefully in our future there won't be a religion, but there'll be more fellowship. And actually, this October 4th, we're going to have a Sukkot out here, and there's going to be quite a few people doing that. Having this kind of fellowship and open study and praise and worship. So, but yeah, I would say that that's the biggest challenge. There isn't anything to fall in on, but that's also the upside. We are cutting our own path here and trying to get closer to God in our relationship. And finally, question number 10. Is there something that I would have changed? And what would that something be? Yes, and I think most of us would agree. It'd have been nice to have figured it out a lot earlier. Um, my Christian walk went great. I mean, I was a member of the Protestant Action Committee. I'm a pastor. I have a theological degree, and I actually had a mission inside of a Messianic church. I don't see those as a complete waste of time. They prepared me a lot for where I'm at right now, but it would be great if I had that time back and resourced and studied more towards where I'm at right now. But yeah, if I had to do it all over again, I would definitely like to have figured it out a lot earlier than this. But thankful that I'm here right now. Jason, thanks a lot for the opportunity to share, and I'm looking forward to other people sharing. God bless.